fantasy revenge lab.
He called me outdated, fired me in front of the whole team, and laughed like it was a win. 10 seconds later, he realized his mistake had just cost him $50,000. And that was just the beginning. When you work in IT for 18 years, you get used to people looking past you, but you also learn that the people who look past you usually don't understand how things actually work. That was especially true for Sean Myers, the shiny new VP of operations with a six-figure smile and zero grasp of the systems holding our company together. He joined Clarke 2 months ago and immediately made it his mission to modernize everything. That word modernize, it's corporate code for cut costs, fire veterans, and outsource things you don't understand. I knew I was a target from the first time he walked into the server room in his designer suit and pointed at our mainframe like it was a museum relic. "Why are we still running this dinosaur?" he asked, smirking. "Because this dinosaur processes 60% of our transactions, including payroll, client billing, and secure data syncing," I said without blinking, "and it hasn't had a major failure in over a decade." He chuckled. "Still, it's inefficient. We'll replace it with something cloud-based, probably cut down on personnel too, personnel, like I was a piece of furniture." I nodded, didn't argue. I'd seen his type before. Ambitious, clueless, and in a hurry to make changes for the sake of change. The next month was brutal. He brought in consultants, none of whom knew COBOL from a coffee brand. They asked me for system maps, flowcharts, logins. I gave them what they asked for. I also watched them fumble basic boot commands. Then came the meeting, a restructuring announcement. I was called into the main conference room, glass walls, full staff watching. "Maya," Sean said, standing at the head of the table, "we appreciate your service, but your role has been deemed redundant as we transition to newer systems." There were no thanks. No handshakes, just a printed letter, a smug smile, and a couple of chuckles from the junior staff who thought this was how progress looked. I stood, collected my things, no drama. But before I left, I turned to him and said one sentence. "Have fun on Thursday." He raised an eyebrow. "What's Thursday?" "You'll find out," I said and walked out. Thursday arrived. I wasn't in the office, but I knew exactly what was going to happen. You see, Clarke's entire invoicing and payment verification system worth millions in monthly revenue ran on a legacy back-end I'd written and maintained almost single-handedly for over a decade. It wasn't flashy, but it was rock solid. And more importantly, no one else knew how to manage it. Not the consultants, not the cloud engineers, and certainly not Sean. That morning, the team attempted a cutover to a new system that wasn't fully tested. I knew because I'd seen the calendar invites before I left. 5 a.m., flip the switch, 9:01 a.m. chaos. Clients couldn't access their portals. Payments bounced. Internal systems froze. Even payroll locked up on a Thursday, of course. I sat in a cafe across town with a quiet espresso and my phone off. By 9:15, my old teammates were blowing up my LinkedIn inbox. "Did you see what happened? They're trying to roll back and can't access the backups. Sean's freaking out. They already lost a $50K contract. Turns out the consultants had overwritten a core script without understanding its dependencies. The system had hard fail-safes. I built in for protection, and without proper shutdown protocols, it auto-locked and nuked the payment pipeline. In under 10 seconds, they lost over 50,000 in failed transactions. The best part? It wasn't sabotage. It was Sean's own decision. I didn't touch a thing. By noon, I got an email. Subject: Consulting opportunity. From Sean Myers. "Maya, we'd like to discuss a short-term contract to help us restore critical systems. Please let me know your availability. Sean." I closed the laptop, smiled, and sipped my coffee. I didn't reply to Sean's email right away. I waited 2 full days. Not out of pettiness, out of principle. Let him sweat. When I finally responded, I kept it short. "Happy to help. My new rate is $250 hour, 20-hour minimum upfront. No refunds." He replied within minutes. "Approved. When can you start?" It was funny how fast respect shows up when money's on the line. When I walked back into the Clarke building, the energy had shifted. The interns who used to laugh behind my back were suddenly silent. The developers nodded nervously, and Sean? He wouldn't meet my eyes. The server room, my old domain, was a mess. Cables everywhere, logs corrupted, backup files renamed like someone had panicked halfway through restoring them. I didn't speak. I just pulled up a terminal and got to work. And in 3 hours flat, I had the system back online. Payments were processing. Clients had access again. Sean came up behind me as I logged out. "You saved us," he said quietly. I turned, calm. "No, I just prevented your mistake from spreading." He tried to laugh it off. "Honestly, Maya, we should have never let you go. You're a legacy." I looked him dead in the eye. "No, Sean, I'm not a legacy. I'm a foundation, and you tried to build a skyscraper without one." I grabbed my bag, handed the invoice to HR, and walked out again. But this time it was on my terms. A week later, I had 5 job offers. Consulting, remote. High-paying word spreads fast in IT when you save a company from its own stupidity. "Sean?" He was reassigned, a polite way of saying, "You're done here." The $50K they lost was just the start. The trust they lost from clients? That cost them millions. And me? I started my own firm, specialized in legacy systems. My tagline? Outdated or undefeated? Because in tech and in life, people forget. The quiet ones keep everything running until you push them out. Then they remind you how fast it all can break.